are the biggest problem and you are the only thing getting in your own way. Hello everyone, my name is Jordan. If you're new here, welcome. I'm new here too. To be quite frank, let's just break the ice. Let's get nice and comfortable. I'm put together in my pajamas for you guys. I thought about doing this like real raw, vulnerable, bedhead, no makeup, worst lighting, but I'm already in kind of a weird position. I've tried YouTube a few different times, and I used to have like the microphone, the camera, all the equipment, and then I did a little maneuver like what I'm doing right now where I decided to start from scratch, and I got rid of just about everything. So this is iPhone camera footage, audio. It's really hot in here because the sun is quite literally beating down on me. So I apologize for any outdoor noise. Go ahead and open a window so that way you don't know if it's my or your outdoor noise that's being annoying. But yeah, if it gets too crazy, I'll close it. Whatever. I'm giving myself a life makeover, and I want to kind of use this as a way to document it, hold myself accountable, and theoretically help you guys too, because there's a lot of moments in life that require you to start over. And sometimes you get like the trifecta where everything in your life is like force quit, reboot, try again. So yeah, I have some notes here that I'm gonna refer back to just to try to stay organized, but this is gonna be like long form, yappy, the type of video that you want to like put on in the background while you're doing errands or chores, or you know, something a little more relaxed and chill. But if you do like more short form, structured, maybe a little more entertaining content, then stay tuned, because I'm gonna go over these different like chapters more in depth, more structured, so that way there's a little bit of something for everybody, if you will. So let's just hop right into it. Let's get started, because your girl can talk. There is a little disclaimer that I want to put in here before I get started. A lot of today's video is almost going to be more so for me. I need to like get this out. Like before YouTube and in between this period, like I don't journal by writing things down. I journal by video diarying. English sucks. Anyway, in a way, like it's really cathartic for me to like just sit here and talk myself through my life and figure out what the heck is going on. So thank you for being here with me. Welcome. A lot of this video is going to be relating to me, my situation, what I'm doing, where I've been. It's going to be a little self-centered. Given that though, I'm also going to state a lot of what I'm saying like it's advice, like it applies to you, and sometimes it's not going to. You know, my situation, where I'm coming from, and the like support and resources that I have are honestly quite rare for my age. I want to approach this not being arrogant and unaware of the fact that I do come from kind of a privileged position at the moment. So take what applies to you and, you know, figure out how it resonates with your situation. And for the other things, I'm sorry, take it with a grain of salt. I'm gonna try and approach things from a few different angles, but where I really give like the advice and the different perspectives is gonna be in more of like those structured videos that kind of go more in depth on the different chapters. So like I said, stay tuned. That's kind of the approach of this video. If you like it, hey Demetrius, what's up puppy? Anyways, let's get started. Starting over. There's a lot of different versions of starting over. Sometimes it's like a natural part of life, and then other times it's completely unexpected. One of the constants in life is change, and I think that a lot of the times change, starting over, they can kind of mean a lot of the same things. As you get older and the more in depth you get into certain situations, the easier it is to talk yourself out of starting over or starting the thing that you've always wanted to do, taking that risk in that next step. Ultimately, the longer you delay this change, whatever this means to you, the longer you delay the pain. Because let's be honest, either way it's gonna hurt. The longer you stay stagnant in your life and the longer that you continue going down the same path that clearly isn't making you happy because you're fantasizing about some new life, it's going to be painful every day, and it's going to wear on you to the point where you are almost going to go into autopilot mode and you're gonna self-destruct. At least for me personally, that's my pattern. Or, it's gonna be a little painful going through whatever this transition is for you. Obviously, it's something that makes you uncomfortable if you're constantly self-doubting yourself and talking yourself out of whatever this is. That transition period, the uncomfort or discomfort that comes from that is going to be so short term in comparison to if you continue talking yourself out of it and delaying it towards the future. The outcome of each situation says it all. If you decide to stay in whatever situation you're uncomfortable with, the pain is literally just going to be self-induced, hurt, self-doubting. It's gonna be a little miserable, quite honestly. Like, I'm a little dramatic, but I just want the gravity of the situation to sink in because this is your life, this is our life. On the other hand, you may be a little uncomfortable for a little while. Some people might not even like you after whatever change you do happens, You can't be the hero in everyone's story, so you're gonna be a little vulnerable. You might be lonely, but in the end, you're going to know whether that change was the right thing for you. You're gonna actually have direction. And if it was the right thing for you, you're gonna have this beautiful new life built for yourself that you chose for you. The tough thing about life in general is, for most people, you are born, and up until the point that you're about 18, for most of us young people, even longer, you live with your folks and you have most things laid out for you. You know that you need to have some sort of career set after school. You know what kind of extracurriculars you want to do in school. You know what days those happen. Like, you have so much unspoken structure. And then adulthood hits and you're thrown into the world and you have to build that for yourself. And a lot of people lose control. It's so easy to get distracted by the internet, social media, what other people are doing. Like, this world and society is designed to get you distracted from your life. You're the only person who can make decisions for you. No one's gonna hand them to you. It's so easy to sit around and wait. Like, you see those TikToks of how people are like, oh, when I was younger, I would go to the mall and think that some model agency was gonna come up to me and just sign me right there and I was gonna be famous. Even with what I'm doing right here with social media, we're fed this narrative that you can just do one simple thing that people love and go viral and then your life is set for you. But it's so rare and you don't want to depend on something like that. So you have to take action in your life, even when it's scary. Choices are risks. And when you have anxiety and when you're overthinking and you have all this information and you can ask all these questions, which is healthy, it's so easy to make such a simple choice convoluted to the point where you are the biggest problem and you are the only thing getting in your own way. So choose yourself. Come on, no one's gonna do it for you. That was something that was really hard for me in my situation, whether it was friendships, relationships, my family. Anytime I was too close to someone, it was way too easy for me to release accountability and blame that person in my life for whatever stagnancy or problem that I felt. Even though I've been alone to sit with myself in these issues, I needed to really sit in the gravity of my laziness and my stagnancy and my ability to be content with nothing. There's all of these different words that have different connotations. Like, you hear the word content and you think of peace and happiness. I'm 24 years old and I shouldn't be content with spending each and every single day running errands, doing chores, doing the exact bare minimum just so I have as much time as possible to just sit and scroll on my phone and just consume content, consume merchandise. It was consuming me. I kind of broke away from everything. A year ago, when I had made all of these changes to have a new beginning, I thought I was building this whole new life, and I ended up breaking that exact life down to the bare bones so that way I can really hash out these problems of mine, these shadows, I guess you could say. I think that that's something that's important to address when you're starting over is, how am I going to get my own way? How many times have I done this exact same thing? And what is the root issue? What is the exact reason as to why? You got to really dig down deep. If you go to therapy, talk to your therapist about it, because that could save you so much time and so much overthinking. Girl, I'm jealous. It's so easy to be self-aware of what you need to do to get to where you want to be. But ultimately, you need to have a plan, like a tangible, measurable goal and like list of goals for you to get from point A to point B. And that way, when you start to get a little lost and overwhelmed and distracted, inevitably, you can refer back to that game plan and know exactly where you need to go, where you got lost, and how to get back on track. Organization and structure isn't something that necessarily comes natural to me, but that chaos is ultimately my downfall. So having that structure, writing it down, having something like this to hold me accountable is something that's really important to me. And just realizing these things about yourself. Your destructive patterns, your issues, your motivators, everything's gonna be different. The first thing that I'm gonna kind of get into, because I feel like especially for my age group, it's one of the first things that kind of happens that can kind of shock you. Moving, you know, whether it's you just graduated from high school and you're moving to a different town or a different state for college, or, you know, you just end up moving because you want to get away from the place you grew up from, you have a job that takes you to a new place. It's just extremely uncomfortable, especially for someone like me, because I was lucky enough to basically grow up in the same general area in the same state my entire life. So I was raised by that culture and that environment, and I never realized how much it molded me until I went to a place that was quite the opposite. So just understand that you're gonna over-romanticize this move a lot. You're going to be thinking about all of the positives, which is important because that's what gets you to the place that you need to be. If you were thinking about all of the fear and the loneliness and kind of like the hard times that you have ahead of you, you would never get anywhere. Try and have like a job in an apartment or like a housing situation set up for yourself before you go, because you can, depending on the area you move to, you can find a job somewhat easily. But at the same time, you want to find a job that you can like be happy with and consistent with, because you're already going to be adapting to like learning where the grocery store is, figuring out how people maneuver and operate, what's fun to do in your area. Like you have so much to adapt to that you also don't want to just pick whatever job, because if you have a bad job getting into it, you're going to be so uncomfortable. So have a plan, try and have your ducks in a row. Make sure that you understand how much this move is going to cost you. There's going to be a lot of forces out of your control, but like you can take those as it comes, and you don't have to sit there and also feel stupid for like the things that were in your control that you didn't quite take advantage of. You know what I mean? Something nice that you can do too is you can go on to USPS.com and you can do like a permanent mail forwarding address change. I might have worded that a little funny. You basically let them know like where you're moving from and where you're going, and they'll forward all of your mail there. Something else that's just really important, and I think through all these steps, is like don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you're in a position where you're able to, like set yourself up for success in the way where you can give yourself enough time to really settle in. You don't want to be worried about like getting to this new destination and having to live out of a bunch of boxes for weeks because you start your job the next morning. Within reason, you obviously don't want to have too much downtime. At least for me personally, like if I have too much downtime, I get stagnant and I like never want to get my life started again. You kind of have to balance it and figure out what's right for your situation, but give yourself time to like unpack. Get comfortable. Like I said, figure out where the grocery store is, like just your bare necessities, so that way by the time you're starting your job, like you have food to eat. This is going to be a first impression in a new area. And quite frankly, like sometimes finding a job in a new area is tough enough because you don't have those connections yet. And so the impressions that you leave on people and the mark that you make in this new place is going to be huge. The next thing that I kind of want to get into that can also sometimes be the catalyst to that like previous chapter that we were talking about is a good old breakup. A lot of what I'm about to talk about is going to be like as if you are breaking up with this person, because that's what I have the most experience with. I'm just kidding. I have problems. But also it's like what relates to me at the moment, because yeah, especially in relationships, you're only ever as stuck as you make yourself out to be. Relationships are so easy to get comfortable with because you have so much security set for yourself. Like, especially if you're living together, You're saving money on bills theoretically if you're like in a situation where you're helping each other out. Like, if you don't want to cook that day, you have somebody to help you cook. If you don't want to do dishes that day, you have somebody to help you with that. Like, it's so easy to have a lot of the stress of maintaining your life and household alleviated because you almost have like a team member. That's kind of looking at relationships through rose-colored lenses though. I know for me personally, me and my previous partner had very different ideas of what like our idea or our ideal give and take was. I think in relationships, it's really easy when you're unhappy to like demonize that person and think that your way is the right way and there's no other way and that you were super hurt and all of that kind of stuff. But ultimately what it kind of breaks down to is there's so many different like styles of relationships and love and how people give and receive love. A lot of the times it breaks down to the fact that like you can't be who that person needs you to be, or they can't be who you need them to be. And it's nothing personal. That's why like when you say like it's not me, it's you, or it's not you, it's me, it's kind of a corny way of, or like a overused way of the same thing. When you say you're not who I need you to be, that sounds so much more personal. Like that hurts so much worse. You know what I mean? And so I think it's easier to like demonize the person and make them this big horrible person in your head. So that way like it makes it easier to leave, because if you still see all this good in them and you see that, you know, they're just a person trying their hardest, but you guys just don't mesh and have like the same compatibility that you need to build a life together, like, oh, that is just like heart-wrenching. Ultimately, like, if you care about this person and they're not like belittling you and abusing you and cheating on you and all that kind of stuff, like you owe them the respect of at least giving them your side and saying like, this isn't what's being met on my side. And if there's not like a solution that works well for the both of you, then like get out while you can. Like there's no point in messing around and finding out, because you're only going to get more stuck and you're only going to get more unhappy because you can't change this person. Unfortunately, not the only way, but most of the times the way that you're going to actually change that person to realize those lessons that you've been begging and pleading for is by leaving them. Like that's why so many times you see your ex with a new partner doing all of the things that you were asking the entire relationship for. It took you leaving and them sitting with themselves to realize like, oh, that's what they meant. You're gonna have your own version of that too. In my previous relationship, my biggest issue was I had no passion or drive in life. I didn't know what I wanted to do professionally. A lot of my hobbies were either like a little too expensive to do, or I just had like blocks, like they just weren't fulfilling for me anymore. And so a lot of my days were just cooking, cleaning, scrolling through my phone and going to bed. And for my partner, like it wasn't appealing, you know, like he had his own versions of having fun and ways that he wanted to spend his time. And I think I relied on him too heavily to entertain me. It took me being alone and just seeing how boring my life was when there wasn't anyone there to resent for not occupying me or entertaining me. Like, I needed to sit with that alone. I wasn't ready. I needed to learn that on my own. So sometimes like seeing yourself in that way, it's hard. It's really hard to be that honest with yourself. If you're gonna have a heartache from something like that and you're gonna have to go through this grieving process and loss, like you might as well really digest all of the lessons that you need to, so that way you can really be your next best person for whatever your next best chapter is, or your next relationship, you know? Because otherwise you're just gonna run in like these patterns where it's just gonna be the same thing and the same problems over and over again. And like, you're gonna be the problem because you didn't work on yourself and you didn't take time to sit with yourself. You can't be the hero in everyone's story, but if you're gonna be the hero in someone's story, you have to pick your own. If you're gonna be like the mean boy or girl who broke up with your partner and left them heart-wrenched and on their own, and however people are gonna skew the story, that's fine. That's their perspective. The way that they choose to react to the situation is completely up to them, but this is your life. So you need to take it into your own hands and be okay with people having their own opinions about it. Because as long as you feel good about the choices that you made and what you did, then like, whatever. A big ol' oh, whatever. Kind of what I spoke about at the beginning, like it's gonna hurt either way. It's gonna hurt having to grieve the loss of, you know, missing them and having to sleep on your own and be in your own space and not having that person to like go spend time with and get meals with, and you know, like those all of the little nuances that come with each relationship. But it's also gonna hurt if you stay and continue to like disrespect yourself and pretend like you're not swimming in burning hot lava, honey. Choose you. It's okay. Like, you'll be able to figure it out and you'll be grateful that you did. A lot of the times people's new chapters is like a new career. For me personally, like one of the things that saved me getting out of high school was cosmetology school, and I became a hairdresser. It gave me a lot of ability to work in a creative profession that also didn't take away from my creative hobbies outside of work. It was a great fit, but it was exhausting. Like, it kind of took all of my oomph, so it was like my entire life was hairdressing. I was so busy at the salon that I wasn't able to take proper care of myself. I couldn't get like full meals in. I was on my feet for so long. And it was just so draining to the point where like I had to take a step back. And even to this day, like I'm still a little lost as to what I want to do. My personal plan is I dropped my bills as much as humanly possible. I can just work like a part-time job to pay the rest of my bills. Just something silly, you know, that I don't have to invest a bunch of energy and time into. And that way I'm making money, but I can really have my eyes peeled for that perfect job. Think about the things that interest you in your day-to-day life. Something that was really important for me was having something that was fulfilling but didn't take away from something that I do in like my personal life. I thought about being a tattoo artist, but I would never want to draw in my free time because my job would be drawing. And that's a really big form of like therapy for me. My latest kind of realization was I'm really into nutrition and how food affects your body, fuels your body, and just can heal so much of everyday issues that we deal with and that we would usually run to big old pharma for. I might take this grace period that I have to also like go to nutrition school or, you know, do whatever certification I need in that realm. So that way I can learn as much about it as possible to see if it's a good fit for me, and also kind of start building another backup plan. If we're like really fantasizing here and like being honest and vulnerable, like my dream would be to like be a YouTuber and be able to help people and like have an audience where we can have like a safe environment to talk about like the intricacies and nuances of life. Also have fun, draw, paint, sing, kind of go through this journey together. Social media can be a little finicky because it's a lot like sales. You're relying on the public and other people for your livelihood. And you're a human. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna say stupid stuff. And quite frankly, like you're gonna be beating a dead horse after a while and you're not gonna be relevant anymore, and that's okay. That's okay. So you need to have skills, characteristics outside of like your looks and your charming personality and the things that kind of make the internet personality possible. You need to build yourself outside of that so that way if it doesn't work out, not only are you still left like satisfied and empowered, like okay, I have things outside of how much people like me on the internet. My value comes from who I am and what I do, not how people perceive me. But then you also have a backup plan, like you can pay your bills and keep a roof over your head and have other interests and things that fulfill you. So theoretically, like you can kind of balance it with your content creation. You can now use your platform as a way to market your business and get more information about your business out there and get yourself out there, you know? So you can kind of approach a lot of these things from a very like big picture view and create tiny little goals that lead you to a few different paths. I know, it's a little overwhelming. If you're a visual learner or a visual thinker, create a vision board. Hang it on your wall. Keep it somewhere where you can see it every single day. I'm a big planner person. To be able to go through month by month and have this is what I need to do this month, so that way next month I can move to this part of my life plan and my life goals. You can break it down in a way that's a lot more easy to digest. So for instance, I'll kind of give you the breakdown of where I'm at currently. So I moved here in October. I am living here from October till about February, where they've given me this grace period to kind of like find a job, get my footing, and that way like I can start paying rent in February. I know that's where I was like, that's where the privilege comes in, okay? October was really the month that I focused on self-care, catching up on sleep, getting comfortable, making sure that I have everything in my home set up so that way like I can be comfortable. November is really focused on getting started with the content creation so that way I can kind of get my schedule set up with that. Also just getting set in routines, making sure that I'm waking up and going to bed at the same time every day, and making sure that I have kind of like that self-care honed in a way that's not just going with the wind and just like sleeping however long I want to and whenever I want to. On top of that, I'm also applying for that part-time job. So I'm looking for something that will give me enough money to kind of pay like my car insurance and my phone bill and all of that kind of fun stuff. That way I can kind of still have some free time to film, go on little adventures, maybe learn how to snowboard, you know, just kind of have like a fun little like summer break, if you will, because I'm never gonna have one of those again in my life. I'm 24 years old, so we're gonna take advantage of it. Theoretically, I'd like to have a part-time job set up by December. That way I can focus on getting established in that new routine, and I can kind of use December as the month to figure out like how much I'm generally making, what I'm gonna be doing, getting settled in my new job, keeping my eyes peeled for like a career that I like, getting set up with classes to become a nutritionist or a dietitian or, you know, whatever field I end up wanting to go into in that route. And that's about as far as I'm thinking now. I can't get too ahead of myself because there's only so much planning I can do. But that's kind of how I'm getting myself to where I wanna be. Create the plan, execute it, but also like really dig deep and reflect. Like, look at yourself, honey. But like my throat kind of hurts, my brain kind of hurts, and the sun is kind of bugging me. So I think I'm gonna call it here. If you have questions, you want advice on certain things, I mean, just you need anything from me, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to kind of stay tuned with what I have going on in my life and how I can hopefully help you in your life. I really hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll make sure to leave all of like my socials and whatnot in the description box and in my bio and all of that good stuff, just so that way you guys know where to find me and can stay in touch. I will see you guys next week. Saying goodbye is just so hard, so till next time. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Mwah!